be sure to like, comment, subscribe on YouTube, and follow us on Apple and Spotify podcasts, and rate us on Spotify and Apple podcasts.
I think you could say the same thing for the St. Joe Ogden team. Very senior heavy. You got a ton of pitching. Trevor Ames, Parker Fitch, Asher Premer. In the lineup, you're going to have Will Haley, Bryson Houchins, Logan Rosenthal, and I'm not even naming everybody.
It is Monday, so it is opening day of IHSA baseball, and I don't know about you guys, but looking outside here in central Illinois, there is snow and ice all over the ground. I was driving this morning to the gym, and my car was a little spinning out a little bit, so not ideal weather conditions for opening day here. But looking at the weather the rest of the week, it's supposed to start warming up here, at least down in central Illinois and down in southern Illinois, which is perfect for this weekend's Kickoff Classic down in the Metro East area. So hopefully we're going to have some 60-degree, 70-degree weather for that. But how are you guys feeling here on Monday morning?
Yeah, I think for me, Gav, opening day, but it's more like I'm looking at it like opening week. Especially
sure.
this will be rolling out on Wednesday, so hopefully all this nasty stuff is out of here. And it's, only up from here. But starting Wednesday, it looks like we'll definitely be getting some games. And yeah, you said it. Thursday, Friday, Saturday looks extremely promising kind of throughout the state. And we got a bunch of games to look forward to down at the Kickoff Classic. And really is a great way to kick off the season and see a ton of schools from the entire, state of Illinois. Get a ton of our scouts down there. Hopefully see a bunch of stuff and kind of get the juices flowing early on. No, I'm good. I'm excited. It's I think we all kind of feel this way, but this is one of the most exciting times of the year for us is the high school season and seeing all these guys that we saw all winter long and getting to watch them play in a game and see what it's all about. And early on, it can be mixed reviews. These guys come down and it's their first time getting outside. I know a lot of schools did have the luxury to practice or have tryouts outside, so it's maybe a little different than years past. But typically early on, there can be some rusty baseball and guys getting their feet underneath themselves. But regardless, we got the WBC going to kind of kick things off and parlay it right into the high school season here. And I know college has been going for a while.
No, that game last night was awesome, Drew. I know you just kind of teased some WBC stuff, but yeah, USA's in the championship tomorrow night. We're obviously recording on Monday, but the championship or the champion will be crowned by the time people are listening to this. So hopefully it's the old USA Wednesday morning when everybody's listening to this.
I had heard kind of all about the Dominican team and the WBC. I didn't really watch a ton of the games other than USA, but just tuning in last night. I mean, the lineups on these teams are incredible. And these arms that Dominicans throwing out there, like 97, 98 with looked like 40 inches of horizontal run. And then they all have got like big time change ups. Like it's really impressive baseball. I mean, there's probably a ton to talk about from the games and like, good plays and all this stuff. But Aaron Judge showing off a 96-mile-an-hour arm from right field, and then Bobby Witt is such a stud. So there are a ton of cool things to watch. I mean, the arms like coming out of everybody's bullpen, the lineups. It's like you got a guy hitting in the 8-hole who's a 3-hole for big league teams. PCA's hitting in the 9-hole. So no, it was fun to watch. I mean if that strike zone was correct throughout the night that they were showing on the telecast, that was a huge zone. And I'm sure Dominican has a little beef there with the last strike three call. But regardless, great like crowd, great atmosphere, especially for this time of year. And it's got to be hard for these big leaguers. Like you're playing in this WBC, the juices are flowing, and then you got 162 games, like a straight marathon waiting behind this. But I give credit to all these big league guys wanting to be a part of this event.
I just love Paul Skeens. I gotta say it. I hate that he pitches against like everybody on here's favorite team except Nick. Nick is actually a White Sox fan, which First off, Nick, thanks for filling in for me last week. Glad to know I didn't get Wally pipped and I was still able to come on the show this week. So thanks for filling in for me there. But, man, Paul Skeens is just so fun to watch. Like, I don't obviously tune into a ton of Pirates games. Like, it's not a very good team. Obviously, I just want to tune in more to watch Skeens. Like, dude is just absolutely special. I don't always love everything John Smoltz says, but like the first few innings, like it couldn't be more true what he was saying. Like, man, he was just kind of pitching to contact, right? So he could go a little deeper into the game. Like, it wasn't like this guy's just hunting for strikeouts every time. Like, man, he was really efficient those first couple innings. I know he ran into a little bit of trouble, but like, my God, is that dude fun to watch? It's kind of sad he like wastes away on the Pirates a little bit, but they might be a little bit better this year. I don't know. But man, he's just special. Like, kind of what you were saying about Bobby Witt. Like, that's, as a pitcher, like, I can't get enough of watching Paul Skeens.
Kind of gives me like Jacob deGrom on the Mets vibes, where he's just like the best pitcher in the world, but just can't. I don't know what his like record was, but obviously, I mean, he had a sub-2 ERA his first 2 years with the Pirates, which is absolutely insane, especially being a rookie. Is the first year, obviously, and then now still a young second-year pitcher. Like, it's just crazy. Yeah, watching him pitch, and yeah, I wasn't a huge fan of the John Smoltz commentary. He said something else about Severino too, where it was like, "Oh, his velo's up like 3 miles an hour right now. Hopefully he's like." It kind of made it seem like hopefully he doesn't get hurt, and it's like, dude, can we like not try and bring attention to that right now? Like, we're just enjoying these guys like pitching on fumes, like they're pitching for their country. Obviously they're amped up. Like, I don't know. It seemed like a lot of people online were kind of ripping him too, especially for what he said about Skeens. But I didn't actually hear that live for Skeens.
I absolutely loved how hard the guys were playing. Fernando Tatis, I think it was, and just any ground ball that was hit. There was one late in the game from a guy that, typically I wouldn't think was a burner, and our middle infielder took like one tap of the glove, and it was a bang play at first on a hard hit ball. But Tatis busting down the line. It's one of those where I'm watching it. I wish I had my stopwatch out like on it, and I could get a time down the line, because it was probably a sub-4. Like, these guys are freaks. I don't think people realize like how big, how strong. Like, yeah, they have 70 grade power and some of the best power in the world, but they also are like some of the best runners in the world. Even guys that you don't think run that well are great runners down the line. And yeah, I've never seen Tatis run a ball out like that. And I felt like that was up and down the lineups, like just guys playing really hard, playoff type atmosphere. Some of the double plays that were turned too, the crispness of it and the arms coming across from, it was awesome. You love seeing, I love watching good baseball. And it was like the superstars, the guys at like the top of the game playing as hard as they can. It reminded me kind of like watching the U.S. versus Canada Olympic hockey. It's like these lineups are incredible and they're all playing extremely hard, and it's not like an NHL game. It's for their country. So no, that was just some stuff that stood out to me. I'd love to get some watches on these guys.
Well, I mean, O'Neal Cruz too, that ball he almost beat out, like he wasn't even trying. And it's also hilarious like how loaded they are, like pinch hitting. Oh, here comes a 6'8" freak that has the highest exit velocity ever, just not starting. And I don't know if you guys saw it too, but kind of going on your point of how big these guys are. Did you guys see the initial clip of when they cut to Ken Rosenthal and Paul Skeens? I laughed out loud how the size
but
difference,
I can imagine,
and it was hilarious. But that's a different topic.
Yeah,
I'm obviously not a super tall guy, but in that moment you're like, God, just give this guy like at least a chair or something. Like, make it look somewhat respectable. I don't know. But I'm with you, Pete. I thought that was pretty funny. It was like those old Aaron Judge, Jose Altuve pictures. Like, that's the vibes I was getting.
Standing at second base. Yeah. Yeah, and then you give Aaron Judge like the fact that he's standing on second too, so he's got an extra inch or two. But yeah, I guess by the time this comes out, we'll find out who's won it all. Monday night, Venezuela and Italy play, and then the USA matches up against them. It was wild too. Like Mason Miller coming in the ninth, he didn't even really have his breaking ball. Like he did not have his sharp stuff, and it's just some of the numbers that I saw on him that are getting thrown around, like his last 66 hitters he's faced. I don't know. I don't want to misquote it, but he struck out like 44 of them or something crazy. Uh,
Yeah, I was just gonna bring him up too. I mean,
yeah,
I think I saw on Twitter that since September 8th, he struck out 29 of 40 hitters he's faced or something, which
Might
is
have even
just
been might
unreal.
have been everyone's 0 for 50 and he struck out 39, I think is what
Yeah,
it was.
it's
that's just
ridiculous though.
yeah. Whatever numbers they were, like I've never seen numbers like that at the big league level. See that like in high school, and Owen Murphy was winning back-to-back Player of the Years and stuff like that.
Not
Just kind
bad
of on a different level. But
not bad for a Division 3 arm, huh?
yeah, what was his route? Because I saw he went D3 and then um, I
He
don't know.
transferred to a D1.
Okay.
He was in the Northeast. I don't remember exactly what it was. And then I think he got drafted out of there.
Yeah, and had like really high numbers at D3 too, like a
Yeah.
high ERA and um I mean those stories are, not uncommon. It's not always, these guys that are top of the class ranked, top three in their state, all coming out through high school. Like there's so much development that happens post high school throughout college. Everybody kind of pops at a different time, and I love to see that. Because is he the filthiest relief pitcher in the entire game right now? Like, is that a
Yeah,
decent statement?
I would say. I mean, I was comparing him like to Chapman in his prime, where it's like you just don't have you have no shot. Like
Hmm.
it's 102 with carry, with a breaking ball, and it's just invisible to everybody. Like there's that first strikeout, he swung at like a 45-foot breaking ball. It's just like he's obviously trying to gear up for the fastball, but he can't even hit the fastball. And I don't know if Drew, were you watching the last inning or no?
Yeah, yeah.
That last at
Um,
bat, like I just couldn't believe that he kind of left the bat on his shoulder so much. Like, he didn't have the breaking ball. Like, he's already thrown a pass ball or a wild pitch. Like, he's probably not going to go to it. How are you not sitting fastball? Like,
I think it was a 2-0 pitch you might be talking about, and it was a fastball like thigh high.
well, there was
Maybe
just
Well,
like,
he
2-0 or
grooved him like
2-1.
two in a row,
yeah, there was like
and
a
like
few.
he didn't flinch, and it was
Yeah.
like I was with you, Pete. I was like, because I was like, okay, the first one, like tip your cap. Then the second one, he comes right back with it, and I was like, oh man, like those were the ones you had to get if you were gonna get any. Like,
Yeah, I
I'm
did
with you.
see one of the hitters that went down. I want to say this was the last inning. It might have been the eighth. But like I saw Pujols. It went to like 3-0 on a guy, and I saw Pujols. They showed him in the dugout like flash two, and it looked like to the third base coach. And I was like, okay, does that mean like he's taken till he gets two strikes? So who knows like what they had on there? But with a guy on second in the at bat you're talking about, Pete. Man, you're trying to tie the game there. You're ready to hit. You're not trying to walk. So yeah, I don't know. That was a different situation, but I think you're spot on. Um, start early. That's the one time to do it. You're right. You didn't have the breaking ball at the time, but yeah, that's a lot of WBC talk. But it was fun to watch.
Yeah, quick little college baseball recap. Illinois won their series over Minnesota 2-1. ISU swept Western Illinois this weekend. Eastern Illinois won their series 2-1 over Memphis. SIU won their series 2-1 over Southern Indiana. And SIUE won their series over Valpo 2-1. And then also Northwestern picked up a win over number 25 USC over the weekend. Yeah, go
And
ahead, Drew.
they were playing in snow. I don't know
Oh,
if you
were they
guys
really?
saw that. One of the games, oh, it's snow flurrying. Yeah, like it was true Chicago, baseball weather. And a cool thing about that Northwestern win was that was USC's first loss of the year. Came at the hands of Northwestern. And then you mentioned SIUE, like I'm just gonna throw Ryan Nedved a little shout out here. I want to say he might have been like a 2023 grad, but a pro case guy, always loved the left-handed swing. West Aurora, he's got 10 jacks through 20 games, if my math was right, looking at their stats earlier. So, I mean, there's Illinois guys tearing it up all over the country. That's just one that sticks out to me. Always loved the bat. We were talking about Matt Sauser earlier. He's a normal U-High grad and just like a Blono, area guy. And he's down at UCF and just absolutely lighting it up. Let's see if I still have the stats here. It's He's pitching to a .36 ERA. He started 4 games, 25 innings. He's only given up 10 hits, 1 run on the year, 4 walks, and 20 strikeouts. Just dominant stuff down there going on for Matt. So really cool to see, and wanted to shout him out, as I'm sure there's others. Feel free if anybody else saw some stat lines or anything coming across, but those stood out to me.
Yeah, and I mean the Power 25 rollout, we completed that here today, Monday morning, with our last 3 stories. The number 1 team this year is going to be the new 4A St. Lawrence Vikings. They move up from 3A last year, where they won the 3A state title. So they are going to be this year's preseason Power 25 number 1 team, followed by Normal Community at 2, Libertyville at number 3, and then who do we have at 4? Brother Rice, and then 5 was Mount Carmel.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yep. A lot of good-looking squads there at the top of the state. 3 of them in the Chicago Catholic League Blue. Tons of baseball to be played, and that's the exciting thing. Is just, hey, this is like an indicator of who we think has a chance to be good. Anything can happen, but no, those teams on paper look really, really impressive. And you mentioned St. Lawrence coming off the 3A state title; they'll be up at 4A, so it'll be a different look for them, in the playoff run. But they bring back pretty much every piece and add a Tristan Stager, and a lot of good stuff there, combing through those top 5 teams and figuring out who to put where. I mean, I think you could, kind of like how we do with the state rankings, like you could kind of flip a coin on a lot of those teams.
Yeah. And I mean, luckily this weekend, we'll talk more about it later in the episode, but at the Kickoff Classic, there's going to be some Power 25 matchups that'll really help us figure out, and these teams figure out kind of where they stack up among some of these best teams in the state. A lot of Central Illinois, Southern Illinois, Chicago schools matching up against each other, so should be a good opportunity to see where these teams stack up. But I guess, that can get us right into the state championship predictions if we want to move right on to that. So last year, if you guys remember, during the playoffs, we each picked a team, or I guess 4 teams in each class for who we thought was going to win the state championship. For this episode, we're just going to take 1 team per class, and that team will carry us forward throughout the entire year and into the playoffs. And then in the playoffs, we will have a new draft where we draft only 3 teams, and the team that we draft here at the beginning of the year will remain with us throughout the entirety of the year. So I hope I explained that well, so if they're listening, they understand it. Does that make sense?
It's basically like a keeper thing, right? We're not doing anything for the regular season. Obviously, we'll see what happens over the course of the spring, but long story short, this team, I remember last year we all just kind of went around the horn, picked a team from each class, and kind of just let it be after that. I think the wrinkle here is like, hey, when we go to do that playoff draft again at the end of the year and going into the playoffs, like we've kind of eliminated a step, and these 4 teams we draft today, as well as we're also drafting a bubble team. I don't know if we want to get into that quite yet, but after we go through each class, we're going to take 1 bubble team, and how we're defining a bubble team is any team not in our preseason Power 25. And how it'll work is they're basically like a wild card team for us during that playoff draft. So we'll still draft 3 teams from each class, but we'll just kind of have an extra team as our wild card, and we'll determine points and everything at that time. Obviously, it's opening day. There's a lot of time between now and mid to late May when we get into the playoff stuff, but I think that might cover it, Gav.
Yeah, I think with our picks, and I think last year we did the wheel. Today we're gonna do based on the winners of last year. That's the order. So 1A. Drew was the winner of 1A last year, so it's going to go Drew, Gavin, Tyler, Nick, and then Hammett. For 2A, it's going to be Nick, Tyler, Hammett, Drew, myself. 3A, it is going to be myself, Nick, Tyler, Hammett, and Drew. And then for 4A, it will be Nick, Hammett, myself, Drew, and Tyler. So we'll kind of go through that again when we get to each class. But if you guys want to start with 4A down to 1A, does that sound good? All right, Nick, you want to lead us off, or Drew, you want to get in there on something?
However you guys want to do it. I was just gonna say it's pick season. Selection Sunday also, just happened here. So I think kind of all of us in this group, we keep our, nose to all sports here and pay attention to college athletics, whether it's Penn State or Illinois. And just looking at the brackets and stuff like that is always fun. I know nothing about the NCAA basketball this year, but I'll be filling out a bracket, see how it goes. I've got a couple schools that I at least think are decent, but I have no idea in 99% of the matchups, which maybe that'll be good. Maybe I'll do better than years past.
Well, not
But no, it's a fun time. It's a fun time of year with March Madness. You got kind of opening day around the corner. You got high school baseball starting up. Just got done with the Players Championship. If you're a golf fan out there, you got the Masters kind of just at least in the peripheral vision here. So really good time for sports.
I agree. I'm glad you brought that up. I absolutely love March. St. Patrick's Day, all the sports, March Madness, everything about it's great. The weather gets better. I'm not going to go off on a tangent. I know we want to get into this, but Illinois basketball, love the path that they have. They got a 3 seed. I thought they might get a 4 seed after losing to Wisconsin in the Big Ten tournament, but they got a 3 seed. I like where they're at in their bracket. They do potentially match up with Houston in the Sweet 16, which is tough because they're a very good defensive team and they're pretty good offensively too. But I had to touch on that because I'm pumped for the games to start.
Did they get kind of a local game too, Gav? Are they going to St. Louis or something?
No, they're going to be out east.
No, they got sent off.
I think they're going out east to maybe Philadelphia.
All right.
I know a lot of people. That seemed like a lot of people were upset with the locations of where some of these teams are getting placed because a lot of these teams are getting home games, basically, is what they're calling it. So I don't know. I don't really care that much, but.
Well, yeah. Who do you guys open with? Penn, right?
Yeah, Penn. Yeah.
And I mean, if you guys are playing in Philly, I mean that's where University of Pennsylvania
Don't quote
is.
me on that.
I
It
believe.
might not be in Philly. I think they are.
But that would make sense, though. Like what you're saying, like I could see, U of I fans being a little frustrated there because, like, I think the wrinkle there with Penn is like they have McCaffrey is the coach there, the ex-Iowa coach, so he's going to be familiar with Illinois and what Coach Underwood wants to do. So I could totally understand the frustration there, but rooting for your boys, Gavin. I hope it's a good month for your sports fandom outside of the Cubs.
All right, let's get into this 4A pick here, Nick. What do you got as the number 1 pick here?
All right. For 4A this year, I have Libertyville repeating as 4A champions. Last year they were 36-4, and they're returning 5 position player starters, 2 relief pitchers, or 2 starting pitchers and a relief pitcher, and that's including Brady Bunick on the mound. Going to Tennessee, I mean, the kid just is a unit on the mound. He's got multiple pitches he's got feel for. You got Madden Kotz as well going to Bradley. Matthew Hara, he's uncommitted junior right now. Chase Lockwood is probably going to be right after Bunick. They're number 2 going to Illinois State. Axel McKnight. And then Ryan Wilberding, former future gamer, going to Marshall. And then Weston Wizakovich, a 2028 that showed well at our All-State this winter. But I mean, they've got a lot of new names and a lot of returning guys that I think that they're going to be able to make a run in the playoffs and repeat as champs.
It's a embarrassment of riches over there. You may have even mentioned it, but like Axel McKnight is another guy that we've seen that we love.
Yeah,
the left-handed
I said him.
They lose some guys, but it's like they more than reload, which is so cool to see. And like Chase Lockwood, Brady Bunick, Libertyville, Coach Thompson over there. He may view Chase Lockwood as their number 1, like senior with a ton of experience. And Brady Bunick, if he's your number 2 and you're throwing out a guy that pitches in the mid-90s with like dynamic Arsenal stuff, that's pretty good. That's pretty good. So they'll be fun to watch. I think they have some really, really big like opening season early matchups too, which will be good, telltale signs. Who knows if those matchups will, actually take place here on Tuesday or early this week. But no, I love that pick, especially, not going with like who we rolled out, Power 25 preseason number 1, like you're taking, up in the northern burbs, kind of where you're located, a little home team. I love it. So what do we got next?
Pete, what do you got?
Gav?
I'll hop in here. It's a tough decision, but I think I'm gonna go with Brother Rice. I feel like they're due. They've made a deep run, a handful of my years already just being with Prep Baseball Illinois. But I love the rotation led by Brady Cunningham and Braden McKendrick, and they're also bringing J.J. Manos and Aiden Dillon, two really really talented left-handers. So I mean, they got a good mix of righty and lefty, which I think could keep a lot of lineups at bay. They can kind of mix and match. And then they just got star power all around. I mean, I'm not going to touch on everybody because they're loaded, but obviously Brady Cunningham, maybe my pick to click for player of the year. I think that's extremely realistic, especially if they make a deep run. And then Gavin Stanislawski, after his showing at All State, I mean, we're a big fan of that kid. I think he's going to provide a ton of power in that lineup that people are not going to want to pitch to. Anthony Cardolano, arguably the best center fielder in all of Illinois. Newcomer Luca Agni transferring in from Plainfield North. I mean, it's just an embarrassment of riches over there as well. And they got Nolan Ramley. Didn't even mention him yet. Pro case standout, like tools, tools galore with him. And then Colin Campbell going to Louisville. I mean, Ramley's going to Northwestern. Brady Cunningham's going to Texas A&M. And then there's a couple more commits sprinkled in there. But they're just loaded top to bottom. It's going to be hard for me to not, have them as my favorite.
And P, what I'll say there is like their 2027 class, like it might be the best in the state. And the fact that they, add Luca Agni to that mix, just goes off what you said. It's an embarrassment of riches over there. And I think the exciting thing for Coach McBride's group is like, they're going to be in this conversation for, not even just this year, probably next year again too. So regardless, I think that's a good pick. They made it to state last year too. So.
They go out to Vegas early on this spring. Might even be later this week. And
I believe they play today, Drew.
Is that right? Okay,
I believe so.
They're actually playing on opening day. And Shooter Hunt should be out there checking out that tournament. So I think there's a bunch of really good teams. They'll get tested right out of the gate, which they'll be tested all year long. They always play, one of the tougher schedules of anybody in this mix as well. So who knows what their actual record will look like, Pete? But like that won't matter come playoff time. They're one of those teams, whether it's probably them, Edwardsville. Like there's a host of schools that don't care. They want to play as many good teams as they can to get them prepped for the playoffs come May. So.
Yeah, I don't think it's any, surprise that the teams that do that usually make it far and are successful.
Yep.
So.
All right, well, I'm going to take normal community here. Surprise, surprise, probably for you guys. But they're bringing back right-handed pitcher Gavin Swartz, Indiana commit. They bring in Josh Jones, Indiana State commit for normal U-High. They got Landon Corbin, Beckett Weber, Max Heineman behind the dish, Drew Stevens behind the dish. They'll split between catcher and first base. They got Gavin Michaels playing up the middle, going to Cincinnati. Lucas Beatty playing all over the field. Like Carter Harris going to Olivet Nazarene. Like they just have a roster full of guys that played last year on a team that got third at state. And I think they're bound to make another run for it again. And I mean, this is a really strong group, and especially bringing in a guy like Josh Jones, it's only going to make him better.
Not surprised, and I think a really good pick with some value there. Fact that they were at state last year, and I thought they really resembled a team. I mean, that may be like a weird thing to say, but it just seemed like a lot of guys who've grown up playing together. Hard-nosed group. I really liked the vibe I got off of them, and they should be definitely, one of the top teams throughout, anywhere south of I-80. I think it's normal community and everybody else, so we'll see if they can stay healthy and do it. But Tyler, you're the last pick here, so I get to get in here before you, and I think I'll leave you a team that you'll be happy with, because it is a tough choice for me. I don't want to steal your thunder, but I'm debating between two CCL teams, and I'm going to take St. Lawrence. I think it's really cool. They won 3A state last year. They bump up to 4A. It definitely will be a new kind of playoff run for them, as far as where they'll get, paired up early matchups come playoff time. And that is what we're choosing right now, is we're choosing teams that we think will go really far in the playoffs. Whatever their record kind of is during the regular season doesn't totally matter. But, I mean, they bring back so much. They add Tristan Steger, a dynamic left-handed hitting catcher that should hit in the middle of the order. another group that I just always feels like plays with a ton of cohesion, and they can beat you in a ton of different ways. They typically very rarely beat themselves. They play a lot of small ball. They can also bang the ball around the yard. They got Corey Less, who will be playing center field, maybe some infield, maybe a little relief pitching. One of their top returning position guys. They also have Mickey Lotus, who put up, ridiculously good numbers last year, going to Lewis. He's a switch hitter that really sets the table at the top of the order. You got Sam Chin, John Strakowski, Jimmy Benson. I'm missing some names there as far as arms are concerned. So feel free to get in there and help me out. But it's a deep lineup that can do a lot. I mean, pretty much what more can you say? They won state. We'll see. 4A will be a different challenge, and I'm sure that'll be kind of I think if you talk about like messaging and these schools that come off winning a state title and, how do you look, at the next year, whether it was Pravi back in the 2000 teens when they won 3 in a row. And it's like, what can you kind of put out there as far as like to give you an edge to do it again? And it's, hey, we won 3A, but people don't think we can do it in 4A. So kind of living up to that mantra throughout the year, but excited to see what they can do.
I mean, it's crazy. If people think they can't do it in 4A because they play in that conference and they've won it like numerous times since I've been here, like clearly they can play at a high level. They could beat really good teams, so they're going to be really dangerous. Yeah, that was a tough one not to pick there for me.
And all these, I feel like we're getting, it's a steal. The 4A is there's so many good teams. So Tyler having to pick last year, I don't feel like really burdens you too much. But yeah, what do you got?
No, and with St. Lawrence, like writing their team preview, like for me, probably just a least amount of question marks coming into this year, right? Like, I mean, the fact that they add Tristan Steger, such a luxury, like, arguably, in our opinion, like top catcher in the state for that 2027 class. Like, they've got a great pitching staff there. What a way to complement that with, a great backstop. So, just a team I know we're all very high on, but just when I was writing them up, it was a team I just couldn't really find a weakness with, at least on paper. Obviously, things will happen and things will change, but good pick there. I am going to stay in the CCL Blue. Now, this is a team where everything's just kind of been built into this year. Dating back to 2 years ago, we saw like all their top arms as underclassmen tear it up at our preseason All-State, and that's Mount Carmel. They have 16 seniors committed to play college baseball, which is just absolutely absurd. I'll start with the pitching staff. Like, they're loaded, especially at the top in the rotation. You got Connor Ellentenney going to Notre Dame, Jake Matisse going to Lewis, and then they're going to get Ian Tosi back this year. In what capacity, I'm eager to see. He missed all last year due to injury, but, even if he's not starting for him right away and, like, maybe they can use him as, like, a bullpen guy to, like, ramp him up. I don't want to get too inside baseball. I don't know exactly the specifics there, but, like, man, Tosi was, like, their ace immediately. Like, I know he got on varsity as a freshman. His sophomore year when I went out to see him, he was their ace. Like, dude has quickly earned a reputation, I feel like, in this area as one of the top pitchers in the Chicagoland area, and he's a heck of a competitor, so I'm excited that he's going to get back out on the mound for his senior year. But that's just the pitching staff. Like, they also have Thomas Asinski, who's going to Lakeland, who can provide them pitching depth, whether that's starting or relieving. But their lineup is also just loaded. You got Anthony Chavez going to Illinois, Joey Ireland going to Illinois, TJ McQuillan going to Wake Forest. You got Brady Holland going to Georgetown. There's so much talent in that lineup. Logan Fernandez going to Triton, a very toolsy kid. So, man, they're loaded. They have some exciting underclassmen too. And like when I was writing their story, it's like, it's going to be hard for those guys to even see the field, right? Like a Haven Gamboa, a Caden Adams, Silas Rainey, who's a freshman, but like, I wouldn't be surprised if he got time on varsity. It's going to be hard to crack time, but just a loaded team. And I feel like, everything's been kind of building for this year in 2026 with that 16 seniors. So we'll see, but I'm confident and that, they'll be playing deep this year.
Should be just be a gauntlet for that conference this year with all these teams. Like Pravi is a team we didn't select here, but they're going to have a lot to say in that conference as well, especially that blue side. So no, Mount Carmel, like if you're gonna pick two arms, like hey, we got to go win a game today. Like I think Jake Matisse and the old version we saw of Ian Tosi. We'll see how he comes back from his injury. I think they're at the top of the list. And then one of the higher ceilings arms is Connor Alenteni. So like they've got a lot to like there. I think 4A should be a fun group this year, as they are every year.
All right, so 3A is going to be myself, Nick, Tyler, Hammett, and then Drew. And with the first pick for 3A, I'm going to take Sacred Heart Griffin. I think the 3A section has a lot of good teams here in the central Illinois and southern Illinois area. There's a lot of talent. But I'm picking SHG, just the fact that they bring back 7 starters from last year's team. Andy Antonacci and Tommy Lauterbach are the 2 guys that graduated from last year's group. But, I mean, they bring back a ton of talent from a team that won the 2A state title last year. Guys like Carson Butler, who's going to Heartland. He plays up the middle. Will Pennell is a integral part of their rotation. He's probably going to be their ace this year. Going to Lincoln Land. They've got Ty Springer going to Lincoln Land. Drew Ward going to Illinois Wesleyan. He's an outfielder for them. And then Seth Monk is a guy going to Cornell College. But an underclass or a junior I like is Austin Rutter, left-handed hitter. I saw him play second base for them last year. Just another really good addition to that team. But I really like this team. I think they're a good group that's capable of making another run this year, even in the 3A class.
Just looking through their preview here too, Gavin, like that's a tough conference. They actually didn't even win that conference last year. It looks like normal UI and Rochester tied for first. So they'll definitely get some good experience throughout the year, have some tough matchups, and they've had a lot of success over the years there. That's, the alma mater of Sam Antonacci we've talked a bunch about here in the last couple weeks of the podcast, but good way to kick off the 3A.
Yeah, I'll take Triad in 3A. They were third place finishers in state last year at 35-7. They're returning 4 position starters and 3 starting pitchers, as well as 1 relief pitcher that got some innings. I'm just looking at their roster. I mean, they've got a lot of experience and a lot of high-level guys. They got Carter Gaskill going to Illinois Springfield, Pierce Goodfield, Nolan Keller going to Kaskaskia, Braxton Yates, and then Keegan Sipe. He was a future gamer. He's going to Xavier, and then Cannon Sipe as well, going to Jefferson Junior College. But I mean, I think Keegan Sipe will be able to, carry their offense and be their guy to go to. And then a newcomer to watch for them is going to be Matt Morris, a sophomore. He's a right-handed pitcher. He works in the low 80s, but he should be a guy to eat up some innings for them and help them get back to state.
Yeah, I know.
I hate to jump in here every time again, but I love Triad.
Yeah.
They were one of my favorite teams last year just to watch play. They were super deep. They lost a bunch. Like they lost a potential, player of the year candidate in Hayden Bernruder. Also, Gabe Deaver was one of my favorites, like top of the order left-handed hitter. I think they're one of the more like up in the air teams for me, looking at them going into this year. But like I could easily see them filling in these pieces. They've been good every single year. They've always got talent rolling through the doors there, and guys that are kind of coming up next. Cody Anderson was a guy that we saw. He's a younger prospect. We saw him this winter. 2-way guy, really, really intriguing. Kind of next up when you talk about, the Matt Morrises of the world as well. So also lost Drew Winslow down there, but really, really excited to see what Triad does down in Southern Illinois, that Metro East area. We'll get a look at them here in a couple days at the Kickoff Classic too.
Yeah, I was just going to add, to Morris, he is a 2028. He did find limited time last year. He threw 17 innings for Triad, but in those 17 innings, he had a .41 ERA. So I imagine now as a sophomore, he's going to take up a ton more innings with that pitching staff.
I'm honestly so torn here. My number 1 and number 2 are still on my board. I honestly didn't think the number 1 would still be here for me. I feel like I have to do it since I have them ranked where I do. I'm going to take Nazareth Academy. moving down to 3A now. But for my money, man, they have the best hitter. I've scouted since I've been doing this, and Landon told me best pure bat to ball guy. I mean, he's a special talent. They're gonna have him right there towards the top of that lineup. They've got an ace in Connor McKay, who I think is going to give them a really good chance to win every time he takes the ball. But they also have Cameron Alicon in that lineup. You'll have Gavin Hartigan. A newcomer to watch for me is Todd Delaney Jr., a freshman infielder who ranks towards the top of our 2029 class. I know we'll probably touch on that a little later, but there's always talent flowing through NAS. And, for me, my biggest question mark is just what pitching depth emerges outside of McKay. They obviously have James Wasson, who was a great back-end guy for him last year. Curious to see if he, maybe transitions into being a starter this spring. But they've got Christian Dry, a 2028, who's very talented. Colin Dwyer, a senior arm going to Ohio Wesleyan, ex-college rival right there. But, no, they have talent all over the field there. So happy to get them here with the third pick.
I thought I was going to be able to sneak away with Nazareth there, but no, that's a good pick by you. So that leaves me with someone that was on my big board as well. East Peoria coming in at 27-9 from last year. I mean, they got RJ Duncan. Like, what else do I need to really say, right? I mean, they're going to be senior heavy, especially with him, like led by RJ, 3-hole and their ace on the mound. Like, he could be someone at the top of that list for like player of the year consideration as well, especially depending how this year goes. But I mean, they got guys all around this field, especially up the middle. They got Jackson Aarons at shortstop, Roman Moody up the middle at center field. So they got speed in the top of their lineup. They got RJ probably hitting in the 3-4 hole, and then Augie Loans provides a ton of power in the middle of that lineup. And if he can get back healthy on the mound, he'll be a really, really valuable arm. And that'll be a really tough 1-2 punch to face, especially come playoff time.
I've really thought I was going to sneak and get Triad late. Nick got him with the second pick there and threw me for a loop. And then I was thinking East Peoria could fall into my lap because I think we talked about them like they should be one of the top teams in Central Illinois. Like, there's a lot to like. There are some other teams there. So, not scrambling. They were on my list. I just want to make sure I've got some names here, but I think I'm going to go Geneva. I am up here, correct? This is my pick. Okay. I'm gonna take Geneva. They, looking through their questionnaire, they were 23-12 last year. One thing that does scare me that I'm hoping kind of lights a fire under them is they did lose in the regional semis last year. And we're talking about these are teams that we need to make a playoff run. So Vikings out there, like let's one up ourselves from last year. Let's get that out of our system and be ready to roll. But they finished second in the Duquesne Conference. They bring back a lot of talent. They bring back 6 position players, 2 to 3 starting pitchers, 2 relief pitchers, and I mean 2 juniors that we really like, Noah Hallahan and Mason Breach. I'm kind of hanging my hat on them. Like, they can do a little bit of everything. They'll take the ball on the mound. Should be really, really good on the mound and also swing the bats. Blake Kopak is listed as one of their top seniors that should give them innings on the mound as well. Maddox Carson is a catcher. Is it Carson or Carlson? I hope I said it right here. But we saw him
Carson.
Yeah, Maddox Carson this winter. Who knows if he'll get varsity time, but that's just a guy at Geneva that we really like coming up. Catcher, infielder. Really polished all-around game to him. And Defable, I see you're off mute here. Help me out if you got anything else to kind of sell the people on Geneva. I was between a couple teams, but I'm gonna ride with Geneva.
Well, you absolutely crushed my soul because they were my number one team for when we get to the bubble team section. I really thought I was going to be able to, double up there and take Geneva, but for a lot of the same reasons you said. Like, to me, when it gets to playoff time, you got to have, at least 2 guys, really, especially like in those 4A, 3A classes. Do you have at least 2 guys you can turn to, give the ball to, feel confident about your chances of winning? And I think, with Breach and Hallahan, like, that's a really potent 1-2 punch for the Vikings. So, no, that it crushes my soul, but I got to admit, I think that's a great pick by you. So,
well, I appreciate that. That's getting a compliment out of you. That means a lot. We don't see those getting thrown around too often. and the fact that you were eyeing them, I kind of had to make a late change there. So glad I could also kind of steal one of your teams at the same time. So that rounds out 3A,
Yeah,
Gav. What do we got
So we
next
got
here?
2A, so it's going to go Nick, Tyler, Hammett, Drew, and then I will round it out. So Nick, who you got for 2A?
So for 2A, I'm going to be taking Wilmington. They've got 7 returning position players from last year, starting pitcher and 2 relief pitchers. Last year they lost in the super sectionals, finished the year 22-9, winning their conference. And then just looking at their roster, they've got 2 state gamers from this past year, and Zach Oland committed to Heartland, and then a 2027 Cooper Holman committed to Bradley. And then they also have Dirk Geis going to Greenville, and then an uncommitted Ryan Kettman. I think Cooper Holman, I remember from the state games, he showed well, and I think that he'll be able to lead their pitching staff, and especially in a smaller 2A school, kind of be able to, hope that every time he's on the mound they get the win. And then Zach Oland's another standout for them behind the plate that should be able to help out their offense a lot.
Yeah, I think that's a good pick, Nick. I had them towards my 4 or 5 on my list just to pick. I thought I would get them towards the back end since I had the last pick, but no, I think that's a solid pick. Yeah, take it, Ty. Take it.
I just can't believe that they're here for me. I really didn't put a ton of notes down for them because I thought it was hopeless that I was going to get them. But I want to take St. Joe Ogden here. Listen, 32-4 last year. It's funny because I took Mount Carmel, and I feel like with that program, a lot's been building towards 2026. That you could say the same thing for the St. Joe Ogden team. Very senior heavy. You got a ton of pitching. Trevor Ames, Parker Fitch, Asher Premer. In the lineup, you're going to have Will Haley, Bryson Houchins, Logan Rosenthal, and I'm not even naming everybody. I just think that team has a really good chance to be special this year. I know last year they kind of tripped up in the playoffs, and I'm sure it left a bad taste in their mouth. So I think that team's going to come out hot this year as well. I think they've got a ton to prove, probably in their opinion, and we'll see. But that's a team I'm really excited to get here at the second pick.
Yeah, and Houchins is also an arm, Tyler. He's a mid-80s arm for them that they can throw in there that I saw pitch last year. So I agree. They're a very loaded team for Class 2A.
Thought I was going to sneak away with them. Drew, you got something to add really quick?
No, just that they're no stranger to making state title runs
Yeah.
either. State championship runs, state finals. I've seen them over at Peoria quite a bit in the past.
Well, I'm a little surprised that Father McGivney fell to me, and I will gladly take them. Coach Irwin, by the way, is 172-23 in his career. So I just want to shout that out first and foremost. But they were 38-4 last year, runner-ups in state 1A. I mean, it's not a 2A lineup, definitely not a 1A lineup, right? They're loaded from top to bottom. I mean, guys like Isaac Wendler, Ben Sink, Scott Phelps, Ty Etchison, Omar Avalos, one of my personal favorites in the state. I mean, they're just loaded top to bottom. They can pitch it, they can hit, they can field it. Like, they're going to be good on both sides of the ball. And they've just long been one of the better teams in that area. So I got high expectations for them this year.
All right, Drew, it's all you. What are you feeling?
Should be no secret here. I think, Gav, you maybe there for a second thought you might get away with getting this team. But I'm going to take Marquette Academy, Ottawa Marquette, the 1A state title winner from last year. Trying to copy in some stuff, and it's because I did not think I had in. They were number 1 on my big board. They went 15-1 in conference last year. They were 35-3 on the season, and they bring back a ton. Gavin, you actually talked about them a little bit last week when we were going through like the Joliet preseason ID. I mean, they bring back Alec Novotny. He's one of the top. He should be one of the top arms, top prospects in the 2A class. Shortstop, right-handed pitcher. I mean, he should be, an ace of the staff. He can really spin the baseball. Sits in the mid to upper 80s. Easton DiBernardi's another guy that's like a 2A guy for them. That's an upper 80s arm. Also a really, really interesting position player. And then just filling out their lineup, like They bring back 7 position players. They bring back 6 pitchers. I'm sorry. Um, they lose Sam Mitre, who was a middle of the order type of bat for them. But bring back Novotny, bring back Anthony Couch, Grant Dose, Jackson Higgins. A lot of these guys are college baseball players. Novotny's committed to Valparaiso. And then we didn't even mention Griffin Doberstein. Like, that's who you were talking about last week, showing really well on the mound for you. He's another two-way guy that should impact them all over the place. Easton DiBernardi I already talked about, but keep an eye out for Caden Durden, Braxton Nelly, and Bo Thompson as well. And I'm sure there's others in the mix. But just all they do is win over there. I'm kind of taking some chances here with these teams that are up in a class. I take St. Lawrence in the 4A pick, bumping up from 3A, and here I am taking Marquette Catholic, bumping up to 1A to 2A. So that's my team there.
Yeah, and I think the thing for me that excites me the most about their team this year is the fact that last year Easton DiBernardi only threw 27 innings. Griffin Doberstein and Alec Novotny kind of led the way for that rotation. DiBernardi is going to be a guy. I mean, he struck out 45 and 27 innings pitched last year. I wouldn't be surprised if he had an even bigger and more expanded role this year. I know we just saw him up to 90 at preseason All-State. Good breaking balls, and like you said too, a good hitter as well, left-handed hitter. So I mean, they're loaded. I think they're. To me, I agree. I think they might be the favorites to win 2A here, Drew. But with that, I'm going to take my 2A pick. I'm going to go Rock Ridge. They are a team that I think kind of underperformed last year for what they would expect. I think if you talk to any of the guys on that team, any of the coaches, they'd say the same thing. But, I mean, they've got a guy like Colin Schweigen, a two-way who's up to 90 on the mound. He's an uncommitted 2027. He was a future gamer last year for us. I think having a guy like that in 2A baseball who can hit and pitch, he's going to I think be kind of their guy this year. And then they also have some seniors as well. Carson DeCarroll's a left-handed arm. Ryan Oakey's a left-handed arm. Kane DeCarroll's a younger, I think he's a 2028. He's an interesting prospect there, but they've got a lot of guys on that team that I think are going to be really impactful at that 2A level, and it would not surprise me if they kind of really brought it all together this year and made a run in 2A.
I love it. It also leaves some 2A squads open for the bubble team talk here. Yep. As we get into that.
But
which I don't know. Should I take this into 1A,
just
Gavin?
Take it off. Kick 1A off.
All right, so I get first pick in 1A. The team that I was really looking at, because I mean, I'll be the first to admit, like, especially with some of these 1A teams jumping up to 2A, like a Marquette would have been at the top of my list. Father McGivney jumping up to 2A, they would have been at the top of my list. They've been at 1A for a little while, but Route Catholic over there in Jacksonville, I like them. The head coach over there, he mentioned, and now I'm off the team. But he mentioned he's coached this seniors since they've been in 7th grade. It's Ryan Turner is the head coach, and his son Brady Turner is one of the guys that I'm kind of most excited about on their squad. He's a left-handed pitcher, ton of feel, should dominate at the 1A level. They also have Talon Thompson, a catcher, Bryson Mossman, an outfielder, Samuel Long, a left-handed pitcher outfielder. But last year they went 23-13. And they lost to Father McGivney in extra innings in the super sectional, 4-3. So Father McGivney now bumping up, maybe makes their road a little easier, getting to that 1A state title, 1A state championship. They've got 8 returning position players. They've long won, they've had a history of winning, I should say. And they're going to be my first pick, Route Catholic.
Yeah, Drew, I'm excited. This team here was my number 1 team that I wanted to pick, and I'm going North Clay. They're in that Effingham area. They returned 9 position players from their team last year that won 22 games. And I believe it was in 2023 they made it to state. They were down there in Peoria. I think it was the same year that Henry made it to state, or maybe it was the year before. I can't remember exactly, but it's been a few years now. But they bring back a ton of seniors. They're clearly a talented school. They've been to state before. Last year, I was just looking. I think they lost in the regional championship game. But they look like a team to me. When you've got a senior-heavy group like that that's experienced in 1A baseball, typically that means you're going to have some success. So I'm betting on them. I'm going with North
No,
Clay.
I love that. And in 2022, they won it
It was
all.
22. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, so, and maybe they did come back in 23. I think in 22 they were loaded by seniors, but I mean, shoot, picking a school that's no stranger to winning it all and getting that as your second pick, and I love that. And I know they felt very highly of themselves in the preseason preview too, looking through the 1A squad. So, I feel like you got some pretty good value there, Gav, at the number 2 pick.
I'm going to take United over there in Monmouth. Listen, they went 30-5 last year. It's a senior-heavy group, and their coach said that most of those guys have been starting since they were freshmen or sophomores. They bring back 6 starters in the lineup, 2 of their 3 starting pitchers from last year, and then in the bullpen they got 6 guys this year that all through last year. They won their conference last year as well. So, listen, 30-5 a season ago, and you bring back most of everybody from that same team. I like their chances in 1A.
All right, with my pick, I am going to be taking Springfield Lutheran. They're bringing back 7 position players and 6 starting pitchers that got starts for them last year. And the main reason I'm picking them is 2 words: Caleb Cox. Kind of broke out for us this winter. Was a Super 60 participant. He runs up to 95, and especially in 1A, I mean, that's just dominant. So I guess he hits too, and I guess last year in the questionnaire it said last year that he hit 3 home runs in a game. So I mean, kid rakes and throws 95. So I think he'll be able to carry them, pretty deep into the playoffs.
I love that pick. They were on my board.
I just love the call out, Nick. Like, they've got to have the top prospect in all of 1A baseball. So when you talk about stuff and ceiling, I mean, Caleb Cox sitting in 1A just kind of seems a little unfair. What a call out there.
I was getting a little nervous. My whole big board was getting taken in order, but luckily, I think my favorite team on the list is still available, and that's Forreston, who was 26-8. They lost in the sectional championship. So 7 starters that they return, and then they have 4 of them being seniors. And a lot of them have been on varsity since their freshman year. So they're battle-tested, they're deep. Their coach thinks that they're going to set a lot of individual records just with being on varsity for so long. But I think this is a dangerous group that's already gotten a taste of, that deep playoff run, and I think they're hungry and they're going to come back strong.
All right, well, that rounds out the preseason predictions here. We'll throw a graphic out with our picks, see what you guys think. You'll have to let us know. I'm sure there's going to be some teams that feel like they got they were missed on, but we'll pick more teams here in the playoffs. But I think we're going to talk through just some bubble teams now. Like maybe we each take one bubble team from any class. Is that right? It looks like, Hammett, you're going to get the first pick for our bubble draft. So what do you got?
I'm surprised this team didn't get mentioned earlier because I think they're going to do some damage in 3A, and that's Champaign Central. Returning a 26-13-1 record, they were sectional champs. So I mean, their pitching is one of their strong suits right now. If they got Trey Cole leading that rotation, he's a super talented senior going to Wright State. We had him at the Senior Future Games. It's a mid-90s fastball. They'll win most of the games he starts probably. And then they got Nick Braultz and Ryan Pipkins, 2 right-handers that we are huge fans of. They can both really pitch. They're in the upper 80s. So that's 3 at the top of their rotation that, I mean, pitching is obviously at a premium at all times, especially in high school baseball. We say that all the time. So having 3 aces like that. And then they got John Timmons behind the plate to kind of, control that group of pitchers. So that's just, I mean, they were really successful last year, obviously, as well. Sectional champs. I mean, I know they lost some guys, but they got some guys that we really like, some younger guys. Like, I like Nick Braultz and Ryan Pipkins a lot with the bat as well. So they'll do some damage on both sides of the ball and give me Champaign Central.
I'm going Dunlap with my pick here. They're interesting. I mean, they have Landon Gray, senior Landon Gray, going to Luther College, who's going to be returning this year. And then I think they have some interesting 27s. Guys like Carter Lippens, Brett Alkire, Eli McCannick, Jake Weeks, and then they have a 28 in Ryder Rednett who's going to play shortstop for them. I think they'll be one of those top teams in the Middle Atlantic Conference yet again this year. So I'm going to go Dunlap this year.
My bubble team's going to be Rochester at the 2A level. 23-12-1 last year. They bring back 7 starters on offense. 5 of their arms from last year. They won their conference last year. AJ Runkle, Jory Myron are 2 seniors. AJ Runkle will likely also be like towards the top of that rotation, if not their ace. He's going to Illinois Springfield. Jory Myron will be a main factor in the middle of that lineup, and then they've got Sam Ferris behind the plate. A guy I really liked last year when I saw him at the Kickoff Classic. So, I think a team like that has the recipe to be dangerous come playoff time. So I'm going to take them here as my bubble team.
All right, my bubble team is going to be St. Viator. Last year they were regional champions, finished the season 20-18. They're bringing back 6 position players, 2 starting pitchers, and 3 relief pitchers. Their roster is highlighted by the 19th overall prospect in our 2026 rankings with Brandon Thompson, a catcher, going to Purdue. He was at our pro case this winter. Last year he hit 500 in 70 at-bats with 5 homers. Another guy they got going to Southwestern Junior College is Jonathan Jans. He hit 353 last year with 30 RBIs. Another guy they got, Tanner Banya. He hit 281. Alec Hare had some limited time last year with hitting 286. He's a junior now, so he'll have a bigger role on this team. And then a younger guy, Hunter Lockefear, outfielder and catcher. He also saw some limited time last year, but expect him to take a bigger role this year for St. Viator.
All right, I'll round us out here. I was debating and looking through some lower classes, some 2A, 3A, but I ended up settling on a 4A squad in Willowbrook. They were a team we chatted about a little bit when we were talking through Power 25. They were 26-10 last year, which was a school record. They returned 4 position players. They returned all their pitching. One reason that I really like them is they've got a senior shortstop in Jory Crocker. He's committed to Arizona. He can do it all on the field. He's one of the best shortstops in the state. He should hit in the middle of their lineup. Early on in his high school career, he was also one of the best pitchers in his class as well. I don't know if they'll, expect him to pitch this year, what he'll do in that regard, but huge fan of Jory Crocker. They got Jake Bonino, who should be one of their top bats in their lineup, an outfielder. They've got Alec Ramey, who's got some of the better raw power in the state. Bobby Biggs should also be really, crucial for them on the mound. A junior Mikey Garner is one to watch out for on the mound as well, hard throwing righty. Alex Rodriguez is a catcher they bring back. So a lot of schools, and we may talk about just some schools here on the bubble that, could have been picked, but I'm going to go Willowbrook. I'm going to take a shot there.
All right, well, that'll round out our preseason picks draft, talking through some bubble teams. A couple other teams I just wanted to mention in the 1A level was Gibson City, Melvin Sibley, and Armstrong are 2 teams from 1A. And then 3A, Normal U High. I think they'll be a good team in that 3A level too.
Some teams I'm curious about, Gavin, is Morton down there in Central Illinois. They should have plenty of arms. I think they'll compete. New coach at the helm, so that's always going to, always curious how that affects the squad. Lincoln Way West, they lost a bunch of star power. They had a 5th-round draft pick in Connor Essenberg last year and some others. But I still like what they have. They're another program that it's like they're always really deep. Always also have guys in their lineup that maybe we don't know about. I think they'll have enough pitching in Jacob Howard and Jackson Heinlein, and some others. They have a sophomore lefty, Adam Redmond, that I really like. Jacobs is a school in the Fox Valley that we're pretty high on. They'll be one to watch in the coming years. Bennett, made a state finals run last year. Now, they were a team I was looking at. They do jump up from 3A to 4A, so that'll be interesting to see how that goes. York, I feel like all they ever do is win. Easily could have been talked about. T-Town, Teutopolis is a 2A squad that I'm curious to see how they are. They're always, winning 20, 25-plus games a year. And then Loyola was a really intriguing one to me. They didn't have the best record last year, so I didn't end up taking them, but they bring back a ton, and we actually saw a lot of Loyola guys this winter. A couple that emerged as well, but like they have two catchers, in Michael Thompson and Sebastian Urbanowski, and like just to have one catcher in high school, I feel like is a luxury. So to have two should be, really, really good starting point for them. They should have enough arms with the Kelly brothers. The QB1 we saw this winter at the Chicago preseason ID. I don't have it pulled up in front of me, but they've got some other guys
Dominic
as well.
Maloney.
Yeah, thank you. Dominic Maloney was one of the biggest like newcomers in the rankings too in the 27 class. So those were just a couple schools I had there, Gavin, and if anybody else was eyeing a few, feel free to shout them out.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, what? Oh, go ahead, Pete.
all right. I mean, I don't think we could probably have the same team, but Downers Grove North.
Yep.
Were you going to say them?
Yeah.
All right, let's tag
You're
team.
good. Go
I
for
mean,
it.
Colin Doyle, like that kid's going to be one of the best arms in the state. They should feel really good about him every time he takes them out. He saw a ton of innings last year as an underclassman, and he can pitch in game. And like it's not just loud stuff; like he can pitch. So he's in the zone. He competes. They should feel really good about him. And I know they lost a couple bats, but they have some really good newcomers that we like, and then some guys that we're seeing some time for them last year that I think could step up and see some, make an impact. So they're just one that's always going to compete in that conference in this area. So
No, and just to piggyback, like that, those were a lot of the same reasons I liked them. They're going to be battle tested come playoff time, playing in that side of is that the West Suburban Silver side?
yes, West Suburban Silver.
And like you got an OPRF in there, who preseason ranked inside our top 25. Lions is over there, York's over there. Like they're going to be more than battle tested come playoff time, and I just feel like there's also lately just been some talent flowing through that high school, so I feel like you can never count them out. Go ahead.
No, that's just a great shout out. I don't even know if you meant to do it, but Lyons Township. I mean,
Totally agree.
yeah, Jack Slidham on the mound, and then they got Blake Ragsdale, Lon Roberts, and plenty more. Help me out here. There's a ton of guys.
Brady Corin.
Yeah, Brady Corin.
Tommy Georgilis.
There's an arm they have, yeah.
Yeah, I like them. I mean, they've been good. They have the talent. And yeah, if Jack Slidham can lead them on the mound, that's a team that could be dangerous for sure.
They have a name, Tommy Cavallari. He's a freshman, just to keep kind of in the back of your minds here. Big-bodied freshman that's like very, very big arm strength, like up to 90. He unfortunately wasn't able to come to our preseason All-State, but no, I love the Lions shout-out. Like Hinsdale Central's a curious one for me to see how they're going to be with Patrick Connors and Dylan Kassab kind of leading the way, and they've got some others too. Marist is one that I've kind of, have my ears perked on. They've got some young guys that should be in the mix. They have Colin Lawler. I think they're going to be trending in the right direction here this year as well. Trying to think if there are any other schools to shout out, but
Just a couple real quick.
Yeah.
I can go rapid fire it on. Alleman Catholic was one I was thinking about for the 2A level when we were doing state champion picks. Like 27-10 last year. The thing that intrigued me was the fact that they bring back 9 arms from last year. I think anytime you can bring back that amount of pitching, it makes you very dangerous. And then in the 1A level, Armstrong. This was a team I took last year in our playoff extravaganza for a lot of the same reasons I like them this year. They've got Traxton Roberts at the top of that rotation. Listen, what we saw at Traxton this winter, like, that's a guy every time he takes the ball. I like Armstrong's chances to win. And going into the playoffs, man, you need a guy like that. So just another team to watch down there in that 1A level.
You mentioned Alleman returns 9 arms. Most high schools don't even have 9 arms. So shout out to them. Some other schools down south that I'm kind of curious to see what kind of year they have is Harrisburg. We've seen a few of their guys, Ian Crabb being one of them. And then Marion down there towards the southern tip right off I-57. They bring back some guys, one committed to Wabash Valley. They also have Hayden Harris, who's a interesting 2027. So Marion, I'm kind of, curious to see what they do. And then DuQuoin's got a few arms down there in southern Illinois as well at the 2A level. So Just some that kind of come to the top of my head there. What do you got, Gav?
Yeah, I was gonna say St. Anthony with Charlie Spower or Spore. I think are we gonna see them at the Kickoff Classic? Are they gonna be down there or no?
Yeah, we should see St.
Yeah.
Anthony, Effingham, another one like Mount Vernon. Really curious, like where Trevor McClure's
Yeah.
at, and if he's playing, like they should absolutely be a factor down there, with his two-way abilities, and they have some other guys, as well. So, no, good call out on the Effingham squads.
Yeah, and I mean, speaking of the Kickoff Classic, the dates are going to be Wednesday, March 18th to Saturday, March 21st. So all this weekend. Just looking at Thursday, we got number 2 Normal Community versus number 18 O'Fallon. Friday, we're going to have number 12 Edwardsville versus number 23 Oak Park River Forest. And then Saturday, we're going to have number 11 New Trier versus number 12 Edwardsville and number 23 Oak Park River Forest and number 18 O'Fallon. There's going to be a lot of arms to see. I think we kind of are starting to get some rotations coming in from coaches, so we'll kind of be out to see some of these big-time arms and big-time matchups to check out. But, yeah, anything else you guys got on this weekend?
Well, I actually got one more team that I want to mention, Manuka. They're a team, I mean, led by Zane Caves on the mound. He's a true ace. Should be a prospect that some pro guys are out to see, I would think. They got Logan Mackin right behind him. He's another power arm. And then Cam Rudrowitz, Connor Powers, and they just got some guys throughout the lineup like Landon Curry, Rhett Harris, Howie Porath, the guy that we really like, can just hit, Tyler Ebel, Jason Dewey, I mean, a guy that's been on varsity since the sophomore year. So they obviously lost some guys, but they're a team that's kind of like the Lincoln Ways. Like, they're always going to have some guys flowing through that school, and they should feel pretty good about coming into the spring.
What a call out. Can't believe I dropped the ball on Manuka. They were a team I was looking at for the bubble team. And I was a little scared off just because you mentioned it. Like, they lost Braden Zillis. They lost CJ DeKinga. They lost Isaac Goddard. They lost Carter Lennington. But they're another one that like just kind of reloads. They're known for doing that. They always are, 20, 25 plus win team. No, that's a good one. We'll need to get out there.
Interesting. A Manuka grad, Nate George, he just cracked the top 100 prospects list in the minor leagues. I don't know if you guys realize that, but Josh Fields brought it to my attention. Yeah, he's like 93, I believe. So that's pretty cool.
That is awesome. Huge shout out Nate George. One of the toolsiest guys that's come through the state in a while, like a 6'3" runner, but also played the game super hard and was an in-game performer. Tyler, you got something?
Yeah. Just for the people at home, he was a 16th round pick. I don't think people realize how impressive that is, that he's been in the minors for a short time and he's already a top 100 prospect in all of baseball. Speaks a lot to the talent he has, and obviously the work ethic, like the fact that he's just kind of taken off. We were obviously really high on him coming out of high school, but 16th round pick, and fast forward a year and a half later, you're a top 100 prospect in the game. So major shout out to Nate. That's incredible.
I'm really looking forward to the minor league season getting going, because there are a lot of Illinois guys that are kind of poised for big years here. Whether it's like a Dylan Head, I'm really curious to see what he can do, because I want to say he switched teams, might have been involved in a trade. But one that I just saw that popped up on my radar that I had not seen for a long time was Colin Fields. You guys may not be familiar with him. He was a 2018 grad from Libertyville, went to Valparaiso. He's in the Tigers organization and kind of climbing up the ladder a little bit. He was a right-handed arm and can really, really spin the baseball. So that one, I couldn't believe. I had not thought about him for a while. So shout out Colin Fields doing your thing. And just curious to see a Tyler Schlafer in the Cubs organization had a really good year last year. There's a couple guys in the White Sox organization. Another Libertyville guy, Riley Gowans. Really curious. George Wolkow, what can he do? I mean, the list goes on and on and on. So curious for the minor league season to start up as well. And Gavin, you mentioned the Kickoff Classic. I think there's so many reasons I love the event. It obviously kicks off the spring. We get down in the southern Illinois area, and this year, knock on wood, it looks like the weather should be very, very solid compared to what it's been in years past. But the coolest dynamic is not only seeing some of these good matchups that you mentioned, it's seeing the northern schools playing the southern schools, the central Illinois schools playing the southern schools, then playing the northern schools, and getting total different style matchups that we do not see throughout like the rest of the spring. So shout out to Coach Funkhauser at Edwardsville putting the schedule together. It's going to be down at, about 9-10 different venues. I know Plummer Park has 4 fields. That'll be playing a huge role, and a lot of turf fields down there. And we're going to be out in full force, scouting that thing, seeing as many guys as we can, social in it. And we learn a ton about players down at the Kickoff Classic, but also a great early indicator on teams down at the Kickoff Classic as well.
All right, well, let's get into our interview with Libertyville head coach Matt Thompson.
All right, we are joined here with Coach Thompson, 4A reigning state champion. Libertyville, is that the first one in school history?
Yep.
It is?
Yeah,
All right, that's awesome.
3.
Very nice. That's very cool. So, Coach, obviously, you hit the pinnacle of high school baseball in Illinois, winning the state title. What are some pieces that you lose from that team that you're going to have to replace now?
Sure, yeah. Obviously losing 3 all-state guys, 2 of which were All-Americans, Josh Holst, Quinn Shambo, Cole Lockwood. Big shoes to fill, obviously. But one of the great things is that we had, 5 starters that are returning in the field. And then, having the youngest Lockwood, come to his senior year, Chase. We're excited what he can do. And then having Brady Bunick back as well. And it was great to have all those guys with Quinn and Josh and Cole, because those guys developed great leadership in their 3 years that they were with me. So we're hoping that a lot of those guys are going to just build off of what they took from them. So we're excited about what we have coming up. So yeah.
Coach, you kind of mentioned 2 big arms that obviously our staff's very familiar with and very excited about. Is that perhaps your strength coming into this year, is your pitching? Obviously, having a guy like Lockwood who pitched in the state semis last year and was outstanding in an incredible game against Normal Community. And then you also got Brady Bunick, who's obviously highly touted at this point in his young career. Is that kind of what you're most looking forward to this year, is your pitching?
Yeah, really, we talk about all 3 phases of the game, pitching, right, defense, and hitting. But yeah, our pitching's strong. We have the depth even beyond those 2 guys. So certainly we're excited about our staff, our whole staff. So there's some guys we talk about if you want.
Yeah.
But then also our defense will be strong again. Losing Shambo is hard, but we have Ryan Wilberding, who likely will be our catcher, who's a 2-year starter now. So he's coming into his 3rd year with us, and so defense is going to be strong as well. And then we definitely have some good bats returning, but then also our junior class has a ton of real good bats too. So we're excited about all 3 phases. Yeah.
And the inverse of that, is there maybe an area of your team you're kind of looking for, hey, this part of the team maybe needs to step up? Is it maybe something as simple as like, hey, those young guys that you're expecting to be your depth, just kind of continuing to take those next steps? Or is there another area of the team that you're maybe like, hey, we might not start out super hot here, but by the end of the year maybe we're going to be
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is, looking at shortstop. Having a 3-year starter at shortstop is a big position to fill. So Trevor Wallace has played second the last 2 years, so he's got the experience, and he certainly can do it. And then Madden Kotz is another guy in the middle where, he could be at short or he could be at second. Those guys up the middle, I think, will be, kind of a bit of the question mark, but like seeing where they land. And then we lose a senior center fielder as well in Mason Strader, who's playing football at Butler now. So a real good athlete, obviously, but we're looking at who's going to be in center. Could it be Madden playing center or another guy? So we'll kind of see, and that'll be kind of the fun pieces to the puzzle to see what young guys can step up, or some of our seniors. We'll have a lot of seniors as well. So
good. You guys have had a ton of talent walking through the halls of your school the past few years, and it does not look like you're slowing down anytime soon. So are there some young prospects? Now, they don't have to be on varsity or, just are there any young guys that are maybe, you're excited about
just they're in the program and you just know about them?
Sure, yeah. So 2 guys we brought up in the playoffs last year. They're juniors now. Axel McKnight, he had a huge hit for us in the sectional semifinal game, and we ended up winning 1-0. That run scored. And then Matthew Harrow we brought up as well, and his BP sessions were really good. Kind of tracked him in the summer. He had a really good summer, so we're excited to see where his bat line falls in the lineup as well. And then, we got a real good athlete in Weston Wyzakovich who can play outfield, but he's also a catcher too. But he's also a speed guy. So we're looking forward to seeing, what he can do as he develops as well.
Awesome. Well, we'll kind of end on like a fun question here. Looking ahead to 2026, obviously a big thing for us is when we go out to these games, we want to see like big time matchups. Is there anybody on your schedule in 2026, like kind of a big matchup you're looking forward to a little bit?
Oh yeah. I mean, we stacked the schedule to make it as challenging as possible. So game 2 is a rematch with McHenry, and so assuming Chase throws, that game, our first game, Brady will likely throw in the second game, and obviously they've got their guy who we saw at the end of the game was Newski, I think his name is. Yeah, so if that matchup lines up, that'd be pretty sweet to play. Hopefully the weather holds off. They're coming to our place, but I know they have turf as well, so I think hopefully we get that one in. We put Brother Rice on the schedule. Actually, when we were downstate last year, I saw Sean. I said, "Hey, we're playing next year. So let's set it up." And so we're going down to play them on a Saturday in April, I think. So that'll be big. Our conference matchups are going to be good. I mean, our conference is always strong. So, Lake Zurich, I really like the direction of their program. But obviously, Mundelein, Stevenson, those are going to be, good matchups also.
Yeah. Well, Coach, congratulations on the state title. I don't know if I've actually said that to you in person, but it was a pleasure to have you on, and good luck this spring moving forward.
Absolutely. All right. Thank you.
All right. So now we're looking at, I guess last week we updated our rankings in the 27, 28, and 29 class. So we're just going to kind of take a look at that. I don't know if you guys want to have any overarching comment on the rankings at all as a whole, but I know there was one debate that we kind of had in the 28 class, but if you guys want to talk about anything before that, feel free. All right, we can...
Just kind of goes without saying, like, the showcase part of it, like this update post-winter, just a small piece of the puzzle, right? Now's the fun part for us is tracking all these guys down in games this spring, seeing how the tools you show in a showcase translate in game, if they translate at all. So yes, we made like a pretty big update to like honestly all the classes, but like the fun part's going to be after this spring, that update we make, because this spring when we get to see all these guys in game, that's when we get a good part of the information.
No, for sure. You mentioned a big update. Like, I just was scrolling through, so I had the numbers right. Like, we updated the 2027 class to a top 225, which is a very big update. But we saw a lot of guys this winter. Like, we saw a ton of new faces. We saw a lot of guys that were maybe on the fringe in the past who had really elevated their games and warranted kind of being in the rankings. And I think the hardest thing is getting really excited about guys you see this winter, but not going like too crazy. Understand, like, hey, this is a showcase. They deserve to be in the rankings, but you said it. Like, now let's go see them play in the spring. Let's see kind of how they compete, what kind of actual game player they are. We have the stats now. We have the data. We got to see them up close and personal. Now let's go see kind of the little things that you can't see in a showcase that, fill the entire evaluation on a guy. So yeah, the 27 class, we went to 225. The 2028 class, I mean, we're talking sophomores. We bumped it to a top 100. So there's so many other 2028s there that are good players that aren't on the list that we're probably going to see this spring. Some sophomores playing varsity that'll make a name for themselves. And then 29s, we took it to a top 30. And it's yet to come, Gav, is we'll update this 2026 class. The draft board has been pumped out and some things like that, with the high end players across the country. But Man, there are a lot of guys that I think will be out this spring that will have pro scouts following them. It was a deep 26 class. Our pro case, I think, proved it. And there were guys that probably, could have been in our pro case that weren't, whether their arms, weren't fully ready by that late January date, which, hey, totally understand that. Like every player's on a little bit different cycle in the winter, getting their arm ready for the spring. But one guy that I'm excited to see from a pro 2026 standpoint that will be at the Kickoff Classic is Sam Finn. He'll be taking the ball in Plainfield North's first game down there. He was a guy that was invited to the pro case, was just building up his arm, wasn't ready to go full out at a pro case that early. And like we mentioned, like when I went back and forth with email with him is, hey, all right, we'll be out to see you early in the spring. So that's one just right out of the gate there. I'm really excited to see a Kentucky commit. But yeah, what do you want to get in on the rankings here, Gavin? You mentioned the 2028s.
Yeah. I know we talked about it last week, like talking through Dodger Frederick, Anderson Kaufman, and Jack Postma. Like, I thought that we had a really interesting conversation because they're all three right-handed pitchers, all in the top 5, talking about the difference between projection, current status. Like, I thought it was a really interesting conversation that as listeners of this, they might be interested in kind of how we go about it and what factors in situations like that where the players and the status and their number, the ranking that we have them is so close. I don't know. Do you guys want to kind of get into that at all and just kind of talk through like what we mentioned on it?
For sure. And I can kick us off, and I would love to hear, I'll miss some things, or you guys I'm sure will have some things to add. And talking about those 28s and at the top of the class, like it's really hard decisions. It's really hard conversations. I think, one guy we didn't even mention there is like shout out Carver Cone. He's our number 1 ranked 2028, and man, he's really, really good. We love the tools that he has. We love the switch hit. We love the center field profile. We love the way, though, on top of that, like he plays in game. He handles the bat really well from both sides, and he plays hard. Everything that we've seen, like helping McHenry go to state last year, like getting plus run times on him, in game is more important, than what 60 he runs in a showcase. Like, it's not just because he runs a 6.6 that he's like ranked for. It's like, no, and every time in game when we see him run down the line, it is a plus run time. Like it plays on the field. There's other guys that may run a 6.7 that, don't run the plus run time every time on the field. And these little separators matter. And what you actually do on the field matters. And like Carver's got his work cut out for him because he's got these 3 guys that we're going to talk about like nipping at his heels. But we love the 28 class, and what's fun about it is, or even more fun is like, man, this is future games talk here. Like this is future game follows. Like we're going to go cross check these guys in the spring. And getting into Anderson Kaufman, Jack Postma, Dodger Frederick, all 3 of them are highly, highly talented. Like anybody in our rankings, we feel good about them as a prospect. Man, you start talking about like top 10 rankings, we feel really, really good about those guys, and our confidence level on these guys is extremely high. That's why they are where they are. We've probably had multiple looks on these guys in game, in showcase, where they've done it multiple times. And I think, Carver Cone, Anderson Kaufman, Jack Postma, Dodger Frederick all fit that bill. So, like, we've got multiple looks at them. Our confidence, every time we see them, we've gotten kind of the same read. Dodger Frederick threw as a freshman for Lane Tech. Tyler Defaball out there to see him. We had seen him then at the Illinois State games. We've seen him at this preseason All-State. We know he can pitch. We know that he wasn't fazed by, throwing on varsity. He threw 3 pitches for strikes with velo. He's a monster frame. He controls his body really well for a sophomore right now. And you don't see kids that are, 6'5", 6'6", built like a tank that can do that at that age. That speaks volumes. A lot of these guys are still feeling out their body. Jack Postma also threw valuable innings for Barrington. We've seen him multiple times. For a long time as well. Like a lot of these guys, we get like junior future games looks at them as well, like Anderson Kaufman, Carver Cone. But Jack Postma, you want to talk, we're always kind of debating floor ceilings here, and I think that's also what it comes down to is like Dodger Frederick, extremely high floor. And we also believe in his ceiling. Like, there's more to come. Like, he's going to continue to probably throw harder and harder. He's probably going to continue to clean up his overall athleticism, his movement patterns. We love the way Jack Postma moves. Like, he's a long levered, loose right-handed arm with all kinds of projection to the frame. And then you got Anderson Kaufman, former junior future gamer. We saw him take the ball in huge games back in 8th grade. Pete, you saw him last spring throwing for Alton. So like another guy we have a ton of history on. Kaufman right now, if I were to, give the ball to a guy to go win a game, man, he'd maybe be at the top of my list or right up there. His velo is now ticking up right there with Postma, right there with Frederick. He was 90-92 at the preseason All-State. In game, we'd seen it more like upper 80s. But it's 3 pitches. It's a low pulse presence on the mound. Like, he is what you want as a coach on the mound. Never seems like the moment's too big. And I think, for our money, like, he's one of the better movers in the class. Highly repeatable. He fills up the strike zone. 3 pitches. And there's just a ton to like about Anderson Kaufman, as there are with all 3 of these guys. So really, you're kind of like picking hairs here. I don't know if that's the right way to say it, but like with that, what would you guys say on top of that? But these are just some things that we're talking about. We're talking about more than just this. But as you can see, like, it's really hard. We like all 3 of these guys. We love their future. We love their present ability. And that's what it's all about. It's like measuring the floor, measuring the ceiling.
No, it's a fun, but it is a really hard conversation. I think with all 3 of these guys, like, there's still 2 years left until we like finalize these 2028 rankings, and who knows? These 3 could like pass one another multiple times between now and then. Like it's so tough. I think it makes this spring really exciting with all 3 of those guys. Like, not to just say whoever performs the best this spring out of those 3 is who's going to be the top of that crop next time we update it, but it's definitely something we're going to monitor. Anderson Kaufman, for me, he's like right toward the top of that list of guys we need to see this weekend down at Kickoff Classic. I know Alton will be in that, so really looking forward to seeing him in game. But no, it's a tough conversation, but it's fun because it's a great problem to have. All 3 guys are immensely talented.
And I think probably the overarching thing with any rankings is, at the end of the day, we talk about all these guys that, I think we mentioned it at the start of the call today. It's like Mason Miller was a D3 arm out of high school. It's like these rankings, they don't mean that you're going to be, a superstar when you leave high school or when you get to college or when you get out of college or whatever. Like, to me, all these rankings are indicators. It's, hey, these are guys we feel really good about. Every player's on a different trajectory. There may be some guy ranked at 88th right now in the 2028 class. By, the time he's a senior, he may make some huge jump. He may gain 35 pounds of muscle, and then all of a sudden his velo goes from 82 to sitting 92. We see it all the time. Everybody's different. Everybody runs their own race. These guys, Anderson Kaufman, Jack Postma, Dodger Frederick, like, they're all very advanced for a sophomore right now. Like, extremely advanced. They're kind of the 1%ers. And what I love about all 3 of them is, like, they're not just all ceiling guys. Like, they all have very high present ability with high ceilings. Like, I don't think either of them is, like, at their ceiling right now. They're all going to continue to get better. And that's what just makes it really exciting about all 3 of those arms in general, is their bright futures. But just using the rankings as an indicator, nothing more than that. Like, if you're ranked lower than you think you should be, like, use it as fuel. If you're ranked, high in the class, like, you better not get comfortable. Because you've got so many players, not only from your area, from your state, but from across the country and across the world, that are kind of nipping at your heels or going to push you. And it's all about continuing to get better. And some guys, they may need to get stronger and more physical so that their tools tick up. Some guys may already have the tools and they need to get their baseball IQ up. They need to understand how to run the bases. They need to understand how to hit a breaking ball. They need to understand how to get a quicker first step playing shortstop. And like little more like feel for the game thing. So like everybody's a little different. And I'll be like, it makes ranking players very, very hard, but we try our absolute best, and we talk ad nauseum about these players. And too, like, especially for the young guys, it's super hard. The amount of looks that we have on guys varies a lot, with these young guys. We may just see one guy in the 29 class, like, hey, he needs to be in the rankings because the tools are like really advanced. We like the swing. He looks like he's a player, but maybe we don't have as many in-game looks, and the confidence level because of that isn't quite as high as somebody else. So I think these are conversations we could talk on for hours and hours and go down many different rabbit holes. But I just think those are some overarching things that I want to put out there. And Tyler, I think you might want to get in here, or Pete maybe too. I see you got a little something.
Yeah, Pete, I'll toss it over to you real quick. But like the last thing I'll touch on with those three guys is like there's, in my opinion, two guys right behind them that are like nipping at their heels in the rankings with Nick Chirotto over there in Edwardsville, and then Colin Lawler at Marist, a left-handed arm. Like, so who knows, like, who's to say Colin Lawler isn't like number 2 next time we update this after the spring, right? You just never know. And I think that's what makes it exciting. Like, from 2 to 6, we have really good arms lined up. Heck, 2 to 9. Cannon Baxley at 7. James Subkoyak at 8. Connor Baczynski at 9. That's, a guy I would love to see this weekend pitching for Columbia down there, Kickoff Classic this weekend. Like, there's so many good arms in this 2028 class, and just looking ahead at future games, like, we're going to have our work cut out for us, which is the next event for these 28s. Like, these are now the future game watch guys, and I think it makes it really exciting for this spring for all of us to just track down these potential future gamers.
And you mentioned a couple of these guys right behind them. Like, what I love about a lot of those guys is they're two-way guys. So it's like, who knows what they'll be if they just focus on pitching or position player and all. Like, Chirotto, I think he's a 6'7" runner. He's probably the furthest guy away from where he'll be physicality-wise and frame-wise from where he is now. So I think the sky's the limit for him. And then some of these guys are multi-sport guys as well. You talk about James Subkoyak, like being a QB. So just a lot to like all across the list. And it's bound to change.
Yeah, another interesting thing, like, look at Jack Postma, for example. Like, he technically fell in our state ranking, but he's probably going to be rising in our national ranking. So that just goes to show, like, how close these guys are, especially at the top there. Like, the number, like, 2 to 4 looks like a huge difference, but it's really not. Like, these guys are so razor thin, and like even if Postma is like quote unquote falling in our rankings, he's not falling at all, by the way, but the number went down, right? But he's like jumping nationally, like he's getting better. It's just these guys are all making jumps too, and like we've already said, like these rankings are going to change a ton. This was one of the more difficult like grouping to rank for me personally, since maybe I've done this, but going back to like Owen Murphy, Noah Schultz, like that one was impossible. This one felt impossible as well. And I mean, no one's going to be right? Like not right now, like which is way too early to tell. But yeah, it's just something I want to shout out about looking at kind of the national rankings compared to the state rankings too.
Pete, I love that call out because I look back to like past classes when you have a Jack Bauer all of a sudden throwing 100, and it's like, Cameron Appenzeller's at 1. It's not Cameron Appenzeller we absolutely love, but all of a sudden you have a left-handed arm that's throwing triple digits and striking everybody out. Like, he warrants going ahead. And yeah, maybe Cameron no longer is like number 1 in the state, but overall his ranking doesn't move. In our minds, his ranking and like his ability doesn't move. And then I look at like the 26 class, and it was our Landon Tomey, Ethan Bass conversation we had for a long time. It's like, we love both of those guys. Both of them were getting mocked, as like first day draft picks. And it's like, okay, Landon Tomey swings left-handed. Maybe just that, elevates because of the middle infield left-handed hitter profile, slightly above Ethan Bass, but they're both were like rising in the national rankings, doing amazing things for themselves in the overall like pro draft landscape. So there's, I think somebody hit on it. Like, I think Tyler, you mentioned it. Like, these guys are 28s. There's still so much time, and and development to come that, hey, this is an indicator. These are guys we like. The 28 class is going to be a doozy trying to figure out who's a future gamer, who's not. Like, hopefully the team select situation that we had last year stays the same this year so that we can get a lot of Illinois guys in there because they warrant being at that event. There's going to be too many good players to just have only Team Illinois selected. We're going to need to have arms that go to Team Select, position guys. So hopefully that stays the same because Illinois has always been a strong state from a national lens, and I just feel like it keeps getting stronger and stronger. Gavin, there's probably a lot of guys to talk on in different classes, and if you guys have any huge risers or newcomers that you want to mention, or if there's anything else with 28s, Gavin, that you wanted to ask, feel free. I just know there was some movement in 27s. Couple guys like really making big pushes. Charlie Spohr was a guy that we invited to future games last year, wasn't able to make it, comes to the state game, shows a live arm, didn't like throw a ton of strikes in game, didn't show like big time polish, but man, the arm talent is like continuing to look like one of the best arm talents in the state. He's still uncommitted, and it warrants, like we saw him once again this winter. So he's basically everywhere he's going, he's pitching at like 91, 93, touching 94 in bullpens. It's a long levered frame. He's up to number 14 in the state. It's up 15 spots. He's still uncommitted. He's a guy that, like, hey, if we go see him at Kickoff Classic and it's in the zone and the breaking stuff's in there and the changeup's there and he's looking like a starter, like, he's got the stuff and the frame and the look and the movement patterns to just continue to rise. But that's a name just for anybody out there still looking for an upside arm. Like, make sure you check out Charlie Spohr down there at St. Anthony. Are there any other like big risers in the 2027 class? Like, one guy I had was Owen Borkowski. Really dynamic mover, loose arm, high 80s stuff, like really good spin on everything, good movement patterns, pitch patterns as well, like really big horizontal to the fastball. He's still uncommitted. He jumped all the way up to 60 from 101. And go ahead, Tyler.
Yeah, one guy I wanted to touch on from the 27s is Tommy Miller, right-handed pitcher for Lockport. Also probably two-way for Lockport. We didn't do a heavy deep dive into the Power 25, but Lockport's a number 13 preseason ranked team for us, and a big reason why is their pitching. And Tommy Miller to me is just like another upper 80s guy they have at their disposal. He's a good athlete on the mound. Like I said, or maybe I didn't mention this, but also expected to contribute on the infield for the Porters this spring as well in some capacity. So another two-way player for the Porters, and just a guy I really liked this winter at our preseason All-State. He's now at 127.
I have a little riser here that I want to shout out. One of the first guys we saw of the winter, Nate Kaminsky. I mean, he's one left-handed hitting outfielder, athletic. I mean, he's just another valuable piece for East over there. But he rose, looks like 40 spots on the dot. He's just outside the top 100 right now. So just one I wanted to shout out. There was plenty of risers, newcomers. Check out the update if you haven't seen it yet. But yeah.
He's one too to check out on the mound. Like, he's got that two-way ability. And I've reports are like upper 80s this winter. The biggest riser for me, we mentioned a lot of these guys coming off our events and stuff throughout the winter, but now we're like putting a number to their name. Paxton Freeborn at 2027 at Naperville North. He rose from 156 to 47. So like, we liked him before, but we weren't totally sure. And like, to be honest, he wasn't anywhere near tools wise where he's jumped now. Like, he has taken huge strides. Like, shout out to him. He's 6'3", 182. So like, from a frame perspective, he checks the box. He's a left-handed hitter. He's a loose levered mover. And then I want to look at just the strides he made from a tool standpoint. Like, back in 2025, he ran a 6.84. This winter, he's down to a 6.59. And his exit velocity went from 95 to 102, and it was a really interesting swing. Like, you see some of these guys that maybe we were low on coming out of high school. We didn't have a ton on them, or they were growing into their body. Colin Jennings was like one of them for me at Illinois, and like goes to Illinois, was a late commit there. Similar, like he was even probably bigger than Paxton Freeborn, but similar left-handed hitter, could run. And if you marry the run and the power, and then we like the swing, and it's not a max effort swing, it's like a stays inside the baseball, stays on plane, barrel control. Like that means so much more to me. It's like guys that look like they have a feel to hit and should hit, and they can run and have that loose levered power that's only going to get better as they get stronger. Like Freeborn, man, he could add 25 pounds of that frame in a heartbeat. So that's a guy that's at 47. I'll be very curious to see like his, ascent and what he continues to do. But that was one I was very, very bullish on coming out of the winter.
Yeah, I mean, it's a prime example of like projection in the rankings, right? Like someone's wondering why they're not ranked over someone just because their numbers are better. Well, it's because of something like this where the kid is just way smoother. He's a better athlete. Like we're projecting on the way they move, their frame. Like Freeborn was always a nice looking player and he was always smooth, like you said, but it's like the tools took that next step to where now he's a guy, And so that's just like what we're trying to do is marrying the present ability with the projection. And that's what makes it so tough.
Yeah, I've got one more 2027 I want to touch on, and it kind of goes to Drew, what you were saying earlier with how you kind of got to like rein yourself back from wanting to absolutely shove these guys off of, one bullpen in this case, and that's Hunter Long, right-handed arm out of Limestone. He's going to debut at number 150 in our rankings, but man, 6'6", 190, a lot of the same stuff I touched on after we saw him at Peoria, but like this is a guy I'm really high on his ceiling. I don't think he's anywhere close to what he's going to be. Right now it's 81 to 84, but it's 3 pitches for strikes with that frame. Like the fact that he's able to sync up his levers as well as he did when we saw him is really encouraging. And another guy where it's like, we got to see that this spring and just see how it looks in game, who's to say he doesn't make another jump in velo and whatnot, but man, Hunter Long, I was a big fan this winter. One of my favorite arms I saw.
Well, another guy that was kind of one of the main ones we wanted to talk about, right? In our rankings update is Colin Doyle, jumping, from 18, which is top 20. Like he's a really good player. He's up to number 4 now after his showing at All-State. And I know we kind of briefly talked about him just as a winner from the event, but like now we're going to kind of talk about the thought process behind the jump. And it's like, I'll start it off just like I mentioned earlier, right? He could always pitch in game. It was always a good fastball. It was up to 90 at the peak, but pitching more upper 80s. In the zone, he could repeat really well for the size. Like he's between 6'6" and 6'7", basketball guy, like good athlete, moves really well. So all those things already check a lot of boxes. Now you add that he's throwing 96. That makes him a different level prospect, and that's like why he jumps so high. And everything just continues to get better with him. Like the spin gets better every time I see him. The changeup gets better. So it's 3 real pitches with starter upside, throwing 96, and I mean we feel really good about the top end of our rankings, and I mean he could be making some even more jumps this spring if he's actually pitching at 96 in game.
I love it. He turned himself into a real draft prospect, and it's awesome to see like just a guy, elevate his status that much. I be honest with, like, we're kind of tempering it at number 4. Like he was one you could have many discussions on like where does he land, and that 27 class at the top with Caden Wisniewski, Brady Bunick, and Brady Cunningham. I mean, take your pick on who you want there. And now you factor in Colin Doyle. You got Jackson Tucker, Tristan Steger, Traxton Roberts is another one where it's like, we want to shove him. Like, it's unbelievable stuff. It's nothing but strikes. One of the best breaking balls in the class. And like the highest we can go with him right now is number 7. Just with how talented that class is at the top. Man, we've got some, future Super 60 guys in there, and a lot of guys that pro scouts will be excited to see. But no, I think you touched on Colin Doyle perfectly. And like Downers Grove North, get ready. You got another high level potential draft pick to be followed out of there. I know, George Wolkow, Jimmy Janicki, you had Jude Warwick. The list just keeps going on and on now with Colin Doyle, and just Downers Grove in general with the birdies that came through there. a decade ago and whatnot. But I love the Colin Doyle call out. And I was just going to call out a couple more 2027s. Like Paxton Freeborn, Keaton Ariano is another left-handed hitter that now is in the top 50. He jumped from basically 95 to 48. He was hurt a little bit last year. Jace Koth is one that really made some strong impressions on me throughout the winter. He's a guy we had seen quite a bit, but I just think the hit tool really continued to like take the next step, and he looks like an all-day, like really advanced center fielder. We mentioned Owen Borkowski, but Tommy Hosty at Marist is on the rise. He's a two-way guy. Graydon Leonard at Gibson City. He's a guy that we're excited about, multi-sport athlete. Lucas Beatty at Normal Community jumped over 32 spots. Charlie Caroselli and Ryan Tucker had really good winters. Two guys that we've seen, plenty of, but they just also seem to take their game to the next step. Caroselli's seeing some velo rise, has always had like a very polished repertoire. Love the way he goes about his business. And Ryan Tucker, man, he like really did it with the bat. Like high level of repeat, big exit velocities, and a hit tool that just seemed to take the next step. So those are some 27s. If there's no other, 27 talk, like 29s, we were really, really conservative with those guys at the first initial rollout. We only did a top 5. We bumped it to 30 because we've seen a lot of guys. We saw a lot of guys in Showcase, but like I still get uneasy going to 30. Just because it is so early for these guys. They haven't played their freshman year yet. We do have, more limited looks on some of those guys than others. I would say we have more looks on like the junior future games guys that play for Team Illinois than maybe we do for some other guys. But if you're in the top 30, I mean, almost throw the number away. Like, we think highly of you. We've seen you enough to where we think you're a really good player. Like, don't get too caught up in the number. Those are bound to change as we see more and more guys. And Pete, you mentioned it early on, like, just because your number drops doesn't mean that we think less of you as a player. And that's like very, very important for these young guys to realize, because we're only going to see more 29s. We're going to see a ton of them by the time they're seniors. And you may continue to improve, but hey, if we saw 50 guys that, we put a higher grade on than where we currently have you, like, they need to go into the rankings at a higher spot. And you still are on that same trajectory, that same grade that you've always been on. It's just there's more fish, there's more fish in the pond, or whatever the saying is with that. So 29s, be patient. A lot of those guys in the top 30 should have, a chance to impact varsity rosters depending on what schools they go to. And we'll see plenty more of them down the road. Some 28s, like, I guess we could get into any 29s. I think Theo Schroeder was a big takeaway we had in the winter. So, Gavin, I know he was on your mound.
Yeah, no, there's a ton of projection in it. I mean, he's a 29 up to 88 on the mound, and it's a quick arm, loose, easy mover. It's athletic. You can bet on a guy like that. It's easy to bet on a guy like that at that age. Like, yeah, really impressed by him. So we'll see how he is moving forward.
I mean, some other guys that really impressed me were like Chase Estrada, catcher out of New Trier, has a chance to be a varsity impact guy for them. I think he does a lot of things really well. He's jumping into like the top 10, top 5. Silas Rainey at Mount Carmel, bright two-way future, really strong with some polish to his game as well. Brandon Klein down there at Mascuda, like, he strikes me as one of the better movers in the class. Really, really like high level pitchability, just look to him. Repeatable, fluid, like not even anywhere close to where he's going to be physically by the time he's done. That's a guy I'm really excited about. And there's plenty others to mention there in the 29 class if anybody has anything. But looking at the 28s, like, there's a bunch of movers in there, and I would say a lot of newcomers, a lot of guys that we'll need to follow. And Gavin, you had one of my favorites, and we pushed him to 25. He's a newcomer on the list. It was one of our first in-showcase looks at him. We had seen him at the Rantoul tournaments we run, but Landon Ludwig at Ridgeview, like, to me, he's a guy that we're almost being conservative, I would say, at 25. Like, he's a 6'4" lefty that's a fluid mover up to touching 88. Like, okay, we've seen him more like 80, 83 in a tournament. Yes, it was his first time in showcase. He touches an 88. Let's go see it this spring. Let's see if it's, still in game more like 83, 85, which we would still love. But if it's 88 and it's more like 86, 87, 88, he can hold the velo. Now it's like, okay, the confidence level just goes that much higher. And I don't know if there was anything else there with any 28s or with Landon that anybody wants to touch on.
With Landon, the one thing I wanted to just mention, a little story. I was digging in some video of him after the event. We were tweeting some things out. I think I was writing his quick hit up, and it just made me dig into Brent Hedrick's profile from Reed Custer. He's in the big leagues now.
Oh yeah.
And the reason being, he was a lefty. They're both just like tall, lanky frames. So I was just curious, like how they looked similar at similar ages, I guess. And he kind of reminds me. Landon Ludwig reminds me of Hedrick. Just looking back at his videos we had of him in high school. Now I'm not saying Ludwig's going to be a big leaguer like Hedrick is, but I just thought it was kind of an interesting comparison. Two left-handed arms from like smaller schools, and just interesting to note, I guess. Something I was thinking about the other day.
I kind of love that call out. I think Ludwig's profile will only continue to rise as like that spin continues to develop and show as like an above average potential pitch at the next level. And Hedrick, which I think maybe Steve Holm, when we had him on, Coach Holm at Illinois State, might have said it might be Hedrick. I might have been pronouncing it wrong this entire time. But he was very similar. Like when I saw him in high school, I saw him his senior year in the playoffs, and he was more like a fastball changeup guy and just had like a little short wrinkle to the breaking ball, and clearly, developed a ton. And I think there's a ton to like about Landon Ludwig and a lot of development still to come. So he's like that perfect example of, man, I love the present ability. Like it's super interesting, but the ceiling is what's really exciting on him.
One other Central Illinois guy, Drew, that I wanted to touch on was just Weston Ensign, right-handed pitcher from Fisher. He's also 2028. Just a big-bodied right-handed arm. Thought he moved pretty well, and he was up to 88 as well. So, just a guy like that, just another guy to note. Interesting arm here.
And a ton of guys that just put themselves on our foul list for the spring. It's exciting for us because we'll build and we'll have a picture form of all these arms that we need to go cross-check and see and position players. But, honestly, if you can get a matchup with two really good arms facing each other, and then they also have some position guys to see, that tends to hold a lot of weight for us. And just looking through these newcomers, like just so many good arms that are in the mix. Maxwell Nowak, I probably pronounced correctly, like that was a guy that kind of emerged this winter at a little scout day down there that Kevin Mulder was running, but like big physical 6'6" body and upper 80s fastball. And it's like, okay, if Mount Vernon has him and Trevor McClure, like they're going to be really, really interesting. We talked about Mount Vernon and McClure earlier, but Sonny Matea at Montini Catholic, who knows what his role will be. Hayden Lang is a really, really interesting one down at Carterville that just really moves right. Looks like a guy that we're going to have to see. Tyler Mertens at Highland got his name on the list. Gavin Shimizu, Yorkville right-handed arm that you saw at Lockport's another one.
Yep.
That's kind of like a must-see. So huge shout out to everybody that did get their names on the list. Got in front of us in the winter, and we got our work cut out for us here in the coming weeks and months.
All right, that'll wrap up episode 62 here of the Bullpen. Appreciate you guys listening as always. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe on YouTube, and follow us on Apple and Spotify podcasts, and rate us on Spotify and Apple podcasts.
Appreciate you, Gavin. Give us that like, give us a little follow, give us a good rating, and follow us throughout the spring. All of our social channels, our podcasts, we'll be talking about guys we see throughout the spring, and social and everything we see at games and stuff like that. We'll have Player of the Weeks coming out, daily roundups, diamond notes, all throughout the spring. So stay tuned. Plenty more coverage to come.